Like if your dreams aren't big enough, if they don't scare you, they're not big enough.
Right now, I'm kind of going through a starting over, losing everything, even in my personal life.
I've worked in every part of the education system, in every grade level, in every kind of role, research, eval, policy, TA.
The way I had to learn was just by doing and failing, right? And like there was not a whole lot of stability or support provided in that space.
This is Taylor Shead, founder and CEO of Stemuli, and you're listening to Big Tech Energy. This show brings together voices from all around the world, including here in Texas and from London to LA in the heartland, to unpack how AI is already rewriting the future of education and work. I've been obsessed with how tech can transform learning since I was a kid, and let me tell you, building a startup takes real big tech energy, the kind rooted in culture, resilience, and vision. Each episode, we bring that energy through conversations, ideas, and insights that keep you sharp and inspired as the world changes in real time. Welcome to Big Tech Energy. Hi, everyone. It's Taylor Shead from the Big Tech Energy podcast, and we are recording what will probably be one of my favorite episodes where I get to introduce you to the brilliant minds unlocking greatness for millions of students across the U.S., the team Stemuli. So for starters, just so you know, our comms person told us the name of this episode would be like Trust Falls the Team Stemuli. I want to call it Why Do It? Just like the new Nike slogan. So for those of you that didn't see, one of my all-time favorite brands, Nike, shifted their iconic slogan from Just Do It to Why Do It. It's a nod to the next generation, what some people, I'm saying they, call the anxious generation, a generation that also deeply cares about purpose. So the theme of our conversation today is not just to introduce the brilliant minds behind Stemuli to the world, but to ask a bigger question. Why do it? Why do we show up? Why do we build? And what makes this team tick? At Stemuli, our edge has always been team chemistry, trust, vulnerability, and the courage to admit fears, yet still move forward. Today, we're going to open up about those moments, the doubts, the trust falls, and the breakthroughs that make this team stronger than any code base or any AI model alone. What's up, Team Stemuli?
Yep.
Yo,
Hello.
what's good?
What's good? I love the Bud Light commercial, from the 90s. It was like, what's up? Well, to kick things off, I want to have each of you introduce yourselves. I want you to share your name, your role as Stemuli, and one phrase or word that capture how you're feeling about this team right now. Some of you tend to overthink. I don't want you to do that. I just want you to talk to us and tell us what comes to mind. So whoever wants to go first.
I'm James Dominguez. I'm head of product intelligence at Stemuli. And right now, I think the word would just be grounded. This is a pretty grounding thing for me in my life. So
Jason Clemente, I'm the head of games. I'm responsible for overseeing the vision and execution of the team on the game product, and making sure it's like technically strong, fun, and also hitting all the goals and with our mission in education. So one word, I probably would say blessed.
You don't have to pick me. I'm Rebecca Colina Neri. I'm the head of learning and research. I do a lot of work across the company, particularly trying to make sure that the learning experience for students is high quality and also embedded in their own realities and aspirations. I also do a lot of work on the research side as well. I would say one word for me right now is aligned. I feel like our team particularly has done a lot of work to come into alignment about the kind of work we're doing for students. And I'm really excited about that. So aligned is my word.
Awesome. One thing as I was thinking about as I was preparing for this interview with you folks is that all of you are parents. So I'm going to throw a bonus question in and just curious, like, why are you here? Why are you doing the work that you're doing?
I think the main thing that brought me here was my conversation with Taylor initially. The job seemed cool or whatever, but once I talked to her and saw the passion she had for the things that I also wanted to do, which is like impact my community, my family, right, my country. And so being able to impact kids in a way that changes their life, to me, is super important, including my daughter. So
Yeah, that's cool. Rebecca, why are you here?
If you're thinking about you grounded in this idea of motherhood or of having children too, I really believe that I've always believed this is what's driven me. I've worked in every part of the education system, in every grade level, in every kind of role, research, eval, policy, TA, etc. Um, and one thing I've come to know across any of those pieces of work is that our students and our youth have a ridiculous amount of talent, and they have so much that they're bringing from home, from their communities, from their neighborhoods, just from how they walk the world. And I think about my own children, and one of my biggest fears of sending them to school is actually the fear that their brilliance will be muted. Um, and I work really hard as a parent to make sure that they're getting the most out of their educational opportunities, and also they're remaining exactly who they are. So I think for me, there's just so much opportunity in this space for students to be creators, to create realities that we can't even imagine, in our generation, because they're walking a different life than we are. So yeah, I would say that's why I'm here, especially as it relates to my kids. So
Excellent. James, the English major, what you got for us?
I've got my first child just going off to kindergarten for the first time, and it was definitely a different experience than I was expecting, because he's going to public school, and his teacher ended up just being this awesome person whose kids both went to his school. And I think parenthood for me has been a lot of being surprised about the things that I'm actually stressed out about, and they're not a lot of times the things I'm expecting. My childhood background is like very weird. I didn't go to school a lot when I was a kid, actually. So I think like if like for me, like why I'm doing this, like when I was looking at the questions, the prompts for this before, I was like, well, I'm really doing this because of the people on the team, like when it really comes down to it, because I believe that the other people who are like working towards this goal have like the right intentions and all that stuff. So yeah, I thought that, I don't know, it was just like interesting framing within the just do it versus why do it thing. It's like just do it. Like those commercials were very like individualistic. It was like one guy running the race and you just did it. Like you just did it. You know what I mean? Like there's no team behind them. Seemingly they just like woke up and like did it. Right. But I think, I think that I even think that I'm kind of ranting now, but I even think in the like why do it slogan, it's kind of like, I think the adults in the room sometimes are thinking like, why do kids, what will motivate these people to do something? And I think, at least for me, it's like who I'm on a team with, like, because everything else can fall apart and like politics can change and like you might not even know the mission, but like the person next to you, if you're like connected to them and you trust them, that's like a different level of meaning, maybe. So
Yeah, that also makes me think about, my mom's generation. They were very much like if a kid asks the parent, like, why do I do this? It's like, just do it. Just
mhm.
because. Whereas, at a certain point in time, we started asking why, and purpose meant a lot into everything we do. We wanted more answers. And I also think what's interesting about that, it kind of can go two different ways. It's like kids want to find their purpose. And I think a lot of people overlook that as opposed to just doing math homework. No, they want to know why they do that. And that's a lot of what we're trying to answer. And then when you think about the gaming perspective, same thing. Why do they want to do math? Well, maybe we can motivate them behind their purpose. Maybe we can actually make something that's interesting. James, you said something that is an amazing transition to a conversation I want to talk about with you guys. So I hope you guys be vulnerable and honest here. And I think this is going to be a really cool topic. So what's one fear or doubt you've had while working at Stemuli that you didn't expect? And how did you push through it?
I think one of the things that I was surprised by was, this is probably strange, but fear of success. I think with that, I think my vision was smaller when I first joined. And I think because of Taylor's awesomeness and the team's awesomeness, that has grown exponentially. And so with that, things going well, I think, that also comes more responsibility and expectations growing. And so I didn't think that would be something that I would get to grow through. But I think the team growing bigger, getting the right people on the team, being transparent and giving feedback so people can improve, all of those things I think have helped me know that like I'm not shouldering this alone, right? We're all in this, pushing forward together. So.
I love about what you said is in your interview, I asked you, hey, how do you handle pressure? And as a vet, you said, well, if I'm not being shot at, we're in a pretty good place. So the idea that you got some fear behind success is exactly what the quote says, right? Like if your dreams aren't big enough, if they don't scare you, they're not big enough. So I'm glad we're scaring you in that regards.
But luckily, we're not getting shot at, though. So.
My fear is that it actually is really aligned to that. I am a person who's constantly in my head, just like imagining different worlds, different realities, different possibilities, different futures. And I think that in this space, what I've learned is that we need to dream and think and build and design towards those kinds of trajectories. And at the same time, there's this fear that if you go too far down that path, what can you build now? And like, how much do you need to know to be realistic? But then is being realistic going to limit the vision and the product and what you're doing? And so I think for me, it's this constant back and forth of like, I need to keep that like vision and that aspiration like anchored, and also figure out what it looks like to get there and how to be supportive and helpful in that trajectory without also waking up one day and being like, where did that aspiration go? So that would be my, I think, fear or vulnerability.
Yeah, y'all didn't ask me this question, but I'm going to answer it. And as I was preparing for this conversation, what I was reflecting over is how many moments we've kind of been told no, but then also told keep going, right? And how many moments we have maybe encountered like a technical challenge or a limitation on time, but we kept going. And so the funny thing is, for the audience, this team overcomes challenges not only on a daily basis, but major hurdles month to month and quarter to quarter. This last year, there was probably 3 major product iterations. And when I say product iterations, I literally meant we burnt the boat and said, okay, the customer doesn't like it. We'll burn all of this work to the ground and we'll start over, in the desire to not only meet our customers' needs, but to really solve the problem that we're married to and not stay stuck to our solution. And I can't be more excited. It's where we are today. If y'all think about where we were a year ago, like it's September 19th. This is right around the time where the CEO of Stride was telling us, like, excuse my French, everybody, if you have kids in the car, cover their ears. But the guy literally almost was like, what the fuck is this? I want something different. I want something better. I invested in you guys because I wanted you to transform education. And so looking back, where we were a year from now, and then even the decision we made earlier this year where we said, okay, we need to go like platform first, web-based first, and we need to trim our game team to now being in a place where we're bringing on more game developers than we've ever had before. Like, what I guess I'm trying to say in a longer way is that fear and doubt exist on a daily, and to an equivalent, our greater powers, like this belief in ourselves and a belief that if we don't do what we're trying to do, then nobody else is, and a belief in a better world. So, yeah. But speaking of burning the boats, what I want to know from you guys next is, the theme of this question is starting over or game over. When have you felt like you've hit the game over point in your work or in your life? And what does starting over actually teach you all about that point and just about yourselves?
I like this question. I was excited about this one. I feel like I have so much to say about this one because, like, on a meta level, my favorite games are about losing everything and having to start over from scratch, like literally naked in some cases, like Rust. Like, there's something about that is just. And then, like, in real life, a lot of times when like, right now, I'm kind of going through a starting over, losing everything, even in my personal life. And it's like, I've done it a lot of times just because of where I've come from. And I'm like, okay, here we go again. It's like, it's kind of this weird thing, right? But, burning the boats, I think, something I've realized in this startup, because I've done other startups, but in this one particularly, I've burnt the boats before. to varying degrees of success and failure. Sometimes you burn the boats and the team literally falls apart and the trust is lost and people turn on each other and it's like a disaster, right? But I think it's like we've done it like a couple times, like you were saying, and each time we built more trust and we're like, no, actually, we're gonna do even better in half the time because we like learned a bunch of stuff and we're gonna hire better and we're gonna like we're gonna try again, right? And not turn on each other. Um, because that metaphor is really strong, right? You think about like when you've landed somewhere to invade and it's like you're making sure that nobody on your team can escape. And you're also like sending a signal like, no, we're gonna like double down on this endeavor. And they're even like a little bit in the lore is the sense that like anyone who is gonna come from the past and try to derail you, they're gonna realize you're there to stay, right? So it's like, I don't know, it's pretty strong, I feel like. So I'm even more convinced now that burning the boats is like not even just a good strategic move for the reasons that seem obvious at the time. It really like can build camaraderie actually, which is interesting to see. So
I'll follow that. I think it sounds like in similar ways, I've throughout my life had to do that. When I was a kid, I had to start over a whole bunch. And so I got used to starting over. And then I fell into a place where things stabilized. And then it was like, a new starting over of learning from, okay, well, I'm not starting over anymore. So what does that look like? And then even transitioning into like, I did time in the military and like transitioning into that kind of mind frame and then getting out and joining the police department and starting over again. And then getting out and going back to school and starting over again and going into like software development. So I think I've grown comfortable in that space of starting over and have used it as, you say you start over. It can feel sometimes like it's starting over and you're not. You probably learned a lot if you reflect on it. And so that's usually what I try to do is look at, what opportunities are there and how can I apply something that seemingly isn't related, like operating a fire team under stress is similar to operating in developing software, right? The stakes are different, but the concept bears the same. So I really like starting over in some senses, but I like to be comfortable at times too, right? It can't like always be starting over. So
Yeah, just reflecting on what both of you said. So, I know the team knows, like, I'm a very, like, spiritual person. I believe a lot in, my higher power. And, James, coming back to what you said is anytime I've almost been, like, humbled by life or by work, in the midst of me being at my quote unquote lowest, I actually feel the strongest. And I think it's just a muscle of resilience that I've built because I know that there's a lot of people in the world that actually don't feel that way, right? But what I also find really interesting about what you said is what we're programming into the game, right? Like, for those of you that don't know, the game that will be launching in January is like a Founder Tycoons game. And kids are gonna, for once in their education, have the ability to fail, but then to start over, pick themselves back up again, and create a new business. And entrepreneurs know, like, oftentimes it's easier to raise funds if you can say, "Yeah, I've run multiple businesses and either exited or, yeah, I failed a couple." But to Jason's point, even though sometimes we feel like we're literally starting over, we're actually carrying, the wisdom of the past with us forward. So, um, you got me excited again and just thinking about the resilience score that probably all of us have on the team internally, the resilience that we've built over the year, and the resilience that we're going to be able to teach these kids in the next game we release.
I'll just add that I think for me, I think the biggest I've started over many times as well, but one of the biggest ones was I had worked all through my PhD program to be a professor. Like that's what I thought I really wanted to do, and I could make a really big impact from that space. And I did. I finished my PhD program and I went and became a professor of the learning sciences at IU, and I was doing really well, and I actually really liked the work I did. I liked working with students and I liked my research. Everything was feeling okay, but what wasn't aligned was I was very far from home. I wasn't with my people. Um I felt really misaligned, like, in my body and in my spirit, to your point, Taylor, and I just even though I was doing work I cared about, I felt like I wanted to start a family. I wanted to be near my family, near my village, my people. And I ended up leaving, like, just like, I'm gonna just walk away from this. It's very hard to get a tenure track position as a professor. And so a lot of people at that time were like, what are you doing? You know, like, people have been on the market for the decade trying to get a job like this. And for me, I just needed to do something that felt more in alignment, like, across my life. And what's really interesting is, I went on to West Ed and I really enjoyed my time there, but this, now walking away and walking towards Stimuli, is something brand new. Um, and I feel like I'm even more in alignment with who I am and what I care about and what I'm trying to design and build and do with students and with like-minded people. So I would just say every time it happened too, I felt like I got closer and closer to something that felt comfortable in my body and like in my spirit. So yeah, I agree. Starting over has been scary but good. So
Rebecca, we feel aligned with you too. If somebody hasn't told you today, we need you at Stimuli. Thank you for all that you do. But Rebecca, my PhD worthy. So she's coming in and the right
Yeah,
thing.
that's a success mode, I guess, in like AI startups that I see right now is like if you can get somebody who's like industry expertise and can help you write down what something would look like from like the top 1% of the industry, somebody who can clearly explain it, then you're like a big step closer to how do we now make this part of AI, but it's like it's really hard when you don't have the subject expert who can also kind of help you form the data and stuff. You're kind of like somebody who's not an expert, kind of shooting in the dark. You know what I mean? So it's been a big step. But I see that with like legal startups, like all kinds of people are trying to do that right now. They're like, let's hire some attorneys and get them to like help us make good data. And then you go from there kind of. It's kind of a pattern.
Yeah, you could say that Rebecca is like that. I got you, right? Like, oh, you need to do what? I got you. And in y'all's own way, each of you have done that for me. But I want to know from you, how has this team been your I got you crew? The people who made it safe for you to try, fail, or go big?
I'll start first since I haven't yet. This has been the most refreshing work experience for me in my life. And I say that like with complete sincerity because I am a very anxious person. I overthink. That is me. I am an overthinker. I think of something and then I say, no, this could be better, that could be better, and I just spiral. And then I feel this a massive responsibility to make sure I get it right. And then to like worry that if I don't get it right, it's gonna mess everything up. Anyways, that whole spiral. I have found this like peace in knowing that there are really, really intelligent experts in this space. I'm on the call with 3 of them, like, who when I'm in those spirals, I can just, like, say, "Hey, I don't know." Like, "What do you think?" And that has been I've been scared sometimes, I'll be honest, like, vulnerability, like, is this a dumb question, right? But I'm like, "I'm just gonna go ahead and ask James," right? Like, even if he's like, "Oh my gosh, Rebecca," like and every time I have, it's gotten me closer and closer to, like, understanding like what I need to do and how to be helpful and how to get out of that spiral. So I just feel like it's less heavy in the sense of like owning all of it. Like I feel like we're doing that together. So that's been really amazing on this team.
From a data science, like AI perspective too, I feel like there's this like, you see these memes where there's like a bell curve where at the beginning the guy's a novice and then in the middle he thinks he knows everything and at the end he believes the same thing from before, right? There's like this thing where in the beginning we're like, I only need a few examples and I'll get them perfect, right? Like for training and like doing AI stuff. And then in the middle you're like, I need lots of data. I need like millions of examples, right? And then at the end you're like, no, I only need a few really good examples, right? So it's like this thing where like there's this litmus test for like ML. It's like, do you know what your data looks like? Are you intimately familiar with like why it's the way it is and like what it means, Like most of the time, like people are guilty of like not having that because you don't have the subject matter expert or you don't have this or that. So no, I think that's like what kind of sets apart to me sometimes now when I'm looking at like or when I'm trying to do something. It's like, do we really like know on a small scale like what we're doing and then how do we scale that up? So It's like a different paradigm a little bit than throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, right?
Speaking of that, not only do we have, I guess, domain experts across major domains, right? Like gaming in and of itself is an industry just to try and make a technology that's fun like Jason does. And then the work that Rebecca comes from with like research and learning sciences, also another industry. And then we've got James, our English major, also AI expert. And bringing all that together is seismic, but not only do we have the team internally, I think about the partners that we have on the outside, right? Like the example I gave earlier of Stride being like WTF. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
who gets the opportunity to have the nation's largest online school saying yes, no, go this way, go that way, or the Gates Foundation from a research perspective saying, okay, let's validate which product features you have that are increasing motivation, engagement, and persistence. And then probably most importantly, the voice that we care about, the students, the league, what we're doing on a weekly basis, where they're also telling us, yes, I love this, or no, I don't like that. So I do think that's great that we, not only have like the great problem sets that you and Rebecca are working on, but also internal and external people that are truly guiding us, which makes me think again of like the word y'all said earlier with alignment and blessed. Yeah, Jason, you helped me and the company with a major breakthrough this year. And I'll tell the audience that the trajectory Stimuli has been on is like first we turned school into a video game before anybody else in the world had done it. And that was like serving an online school. Literally, we got kids in the game instead of on Zoom and they were learning. We got great results in math and science from them learning on our platform. And then we got back to our original vision of like, wait, but we believe K-12 education should mirror the career pathways that kids want to get on. And then it was like this open sky, green field of like, okay, well, how in the world do you teach career pathways within a video game? Everybody could see it, right? Like everybody thought it made sense from the standpoint of kids love games and then the ability to like have these like simulations. But then the question was kind of like, how do you raise enough money to create a simulation for every experience? How do you update that experience? And so for the audience that hasn't been paying attention to our LinkedIn or hasn't seen the news, we landed a major partnership with a group called Heartland Ford, a think and do tank based in Bentonville, Arkansas, founded with Walton family money. And they partnered with us in order to teach AI literacy through a video game to kids and young adults and entrepreneurs across the heartland. So all of that is context to show the audience how Jason had an I got you moment with me. And I think, all of us really helped work together on what I'm getting ready to say. But for the longest time, what I knew is I had all of these like connection points. I would call them almost like stars that hadn't been formed into a constellation around we need AI, we need educational material, we need this video game. How do they all come together to actually prepare kids for almost any career of the future? And so Jason helped me finally land a core game loop that makes sense and is going to be extensible across every single industry. And it's basically involves us putting the player in the seat of a founder. Like that's the way I learned best. As soon as I was in college and I became a founder of my own enterprise, the traditional education way can no longer keep me engaged. I was obsessed with the idea of I could learn something, I could practically apply it, and immediately I would encounter another decision. And so, long way of saying thank you, Jason, James, and the entire team that helped us finally nail that core game loop that's going to be able to teach kids how to ideate, build, scale, exit a business all through creating, managing, and running their own AI agents. I think this game is going to be the way of the future. We're launching a lifelong learning companion named Orbi. In the after show, I'll tell you how Orbi got its name. But for now, the question I have for you all is if Orbi reflected back one truth about you right now, the way Nike's campaign asks, why do it? What would it say? What's the one truth about you that Orbi would say, reflecting back to you as your mirror?
Mine would be like, do it for the team.
I'm down with that. Do it for the team, James.
Mine would probably be because we're building something larger than us as a team or a company, as individuals. And for me, that's a way to show appreciation for all the effort put in, not just by the team itself working on it, but my wife, my kid, right? The time dedication, the amount of time that Taylor spent on it, right? That for me is really important in making that all worthwhile.
For me, it's actually something Taylor has said to me. It kind of goes back to the original "Just Do It" slogan, but it's not what it is. It's actually just say it. Like, I think that's what Orby would say to me. I think this is an opportunity here in what we're building to be a little weird and a little aspirational. And, and in other systems where I haven't always fit and I've had to filter and do a lot of filtering. I feel like here Taylor's been like, Rebecca, can you just take off the masks, take off the costumes, like just be you, just say the thing, like you're here for a reason. And I think that that's what Orby would say to me is just like, say the thing, do the thing, be the thing, like, so yeah.
Yeah, so now I'll answer the question, Jason. But if you don't follow me on Instagram and you're listening to this, go hit a follow. MISS Taylor Shead, SHEAD is the last name and how you spell it. I recently wrote a letter to the younger version of myself, and I posted a picture of the younger version of myself and some other like cool pictures. But I think the message of that longer letter, and what Orby would say to me, like if I was literally looking in a mirror in myself, it would be like, I got you. And that's something that I'm telling like the younger version of myself. That's something I'm telling myself on a daily basis. Like, yo, I got you. We can do this. But also, I feel like that is what you guys have done for me as well. It's like, I got you, Taylor. Like, I mean, literally reaching milestone 2 is insane. And it's like at times I didn't even see what y'all were working on. And you're just like, I got it. I got it. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And y'all have done what you're supposed to do. And I know you're going to continue to do that. And, I could go into a lot of other funny stories where I've been like really passionate is what I'll call it. But I've been like in the zone and I've been like challenging the team and I've like been maybe raising my voice a little bit. And, Jason hits me in the chat, take a deep breath. I got you. So I do appreciate that. And, we are going to do something bigger than us. So I do want to say thank you, but I also just like can't wait for the world to see. I've told everybody, I've told our investors that the next product Stemuli releases is going to be the best product it's ever released. And that's just going to continue to get better after that. So what's one way you think Stemuli can change how students deal with their own fears and identity shifts? And compared to how we all had to figure it out in our own lives.
I guess I can start it. I think that the way maybe you guys are the same, maybe not. The way I had to learn was just by doing and failing, right? And like there was not a whole lot of stability or support provided in that space. And I guess thankfully I was resilient enough to learn from that and like land where I'm happy with, but I know that doesn't happen for everyone. The thing I'm excited about with what we're doing is really on the game side, and maybe people hold the same feeling, but I think games are unappreciated, especially for people outside of the gaming culture, and understanding like the impact that it can have, right? And the number of like, I can't tell you the number of things I've learned from playing games, right? Let alone learning perseverance of like, I can't beat this boss and now I'm on my 50th time and I'm never going to do this. And then you do it and you have a sense of accomplishment. I don't think there's a lot of places in which you can do that and learn from it and not feel like it's overwhelming to the degree of like failure is okay, right? It's expected. And it's how you recover from those things. So I think that's the big thing that I think we're going to give students the ability to is a space to experiment and maybe take on a personality that they wouldn't normally associate with, right? Like I'm usually quiet and reserved and I like, this thing, but I get to be the leader in this moment. So cool, let me do that. And I think providing those spaces for students and the ability to experiment and grow and learn from that, I think there's a huge gap for that right now for education, and we're feeling it. So
Although it's hard for me to pick one, I'm gonna say two. So the first one is really in the space of Orby. I was a teacher. I love teachers. I also know the best of us have a hard time serving all of the students that come through our classrooms. It's really hard. Like, we can know our students, follow up, make phone calls, but I have classrooms of up to 40 students at a time. And there was not a day that went by as a teacher that I knew I wasn't serving every single student the way I wanted to. And I wish they had more. And what Orbi isn't just like, oh, math support. Like Orbi's the whole character. Like Orbi is a pedagogue. Orbi is like essentially students will have that to follow them, to have the kind of like support all the time that they need, that teachers I think wish they could give every one of their students. So for me, I'm super excited, like from an access point, but also just like from students having the ability to explore in a non-judgmental way, in a way where they can fail, to Jason's point, in a way where they can try again, in a way where Orby can say, hey, that was a good try, but let's try again. Like, yeah, so I think some of that kind of stuff, like for me, is really exciting to see how that supports students' motivation and their persistence, and just like feeling like somebody is there to support their learning and to see what they do with that. And I just cannot say enough how excited I am that we're going to get to a point where we're also able to relate like math, AI literacy, things like that to students' actual lives and career aspirations. Like that's not a small thing. People have been trying to figure that out for a long time. So to even the smallest extent we can do that, I'm really excited about what students will have and experience. And then the last thing I'll say is that this is the second thing, even though it's like the 10th thing, but Founders Tycoon to me is an amazing opportunity. And I've said this many times, so I know, Taylor, you might be like, yes, Rebecca, I've heard this, but like, I think our youth are brilliant. I think there are problems in our world that we will not be able to solve as adults. I think we are going to have to look to our youth to solve some of the problems that are currently in our environment or, in our education systems, whatever it might be. And I think that this is one way where students have the agency to build something like on their own, to imagine, to dream, to think about what businesses might, help them in their career, but also help their communities, help their their families or whatever, like take their aspirations, their lived experiences, their interests, and like bring them to life. So I'm really excited about that as well.
I think one thing for me is just our emphasis on game design is kind of a big advantage for kids, I'm gonna assume, going forward. Like one thing, like I've been I guess you'd call like an AI accelerationist for a really long time. I've worked on a lot of projects for free to basically try to make what has come about, I guess, in a way, right? But like, I never foresaw that people would like form like these weird like emotional connections to AI and stuff. So like to me, I think the benefit that we actually can offer is like from an AI lab perspective is like just some of the research we're doing about around like small language models and making models that just do one really specific thing, like that type of thing, rather than being profit hungry and having like one big LLM and trying to like notify the police if something bad happens. There's just like, I think a lot of times there's a better way to do stuff if you have the right motivations. So, um, to me, having like been in and around this AI stuff since before ChatGPT came out, and like having done the whole like reproducing GPT-2 by hand, and just like over the years being like invested in it really heavily, like it's cool to see now. Like before I joined this company, I was really interested in using an LLM as a game engine for like non-deterministic narrative generation, right? Like that's still one of the coolest things you can do with an LLM, and people use it. That's one of the largest use cases for LLMs, right? Is like characters and story, right? And so to me, it's like once the dust settles a little bit, and it feels like it's starting to with AI stuff, there's still so many like cool techniques that haven't even been utilized all the way, like small language models, for instance. Like what happens if your model doesn't even know any curse words, right? So I think I don't know, it's interesting to actually look at like the practicality of like some of the ideas we've had. Cause I think between Jason and I too, we've like, I think, like, I've known for a long time, we really need, like, game design is really important, and that we have to find how we do that at Stemuli.
Today we asked, why do you do it? And what we heard is that it isn't just about the work, it's about the people beside you, the fears you face down, and the purpose that fuels you. Nike reframed greatness as a choice, and I think our conversation proved the same thing. Choosing to trust each other, choosing to try again after setbacks, and choosing to build something bigger than ourselves. That's what makes us different at Stemuli. That's why we do it. We'll see you next time. All right. That's a wrap on today's episode of Big Tech Energy by Stemuli. Remember, AI doesn't have to be intimidating, exclusive, or just for the tech bros. This is your hustle, your future, your bag. And we're here to help keep you ready, real, and ahead of the curve. Love this episode? Well, don't just listen, make some moves. Drop a review, hit that 5 stars, and tell your crew. Share this with anyone who's ready to future-proof their career, or maybe wake up that friend that's still stuck in 2015. Hit subscribe, follow Big Tech Energy by Stemuli on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you roll, however you roll, whatever your preference. Want to get even closer to the game? You can find me, Taylor Shead, on LinkedIn, or tap into the Stemuli newsletter for moves you won't get anywhere else. Big Tech Energy isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. We'll catch you next time. Stay bold, stay real, stay future-proofed.